Greetings and salutations. Welcome to another episode of 365 Days of Gaming. I appreciate you taking out time to watch this video. Do what the thing says, right around this area somewhere where I'm looking to point. I don't know. But yeah, in that area. Do what it says. I appreciate you, so thank you in advance. Now, there was no way I was going to do, some PlayStation games in a row without throwing in a fighting game. That just doesn't make sense based on what we do here. So I had to do a fighting game. And I wanted to show a fighting game that doesn't get talked about a lot, but also is very important in my gaming journey, of course. So I went with an SNK classic and an entry that a lot of people may not have played. This is definitely not a greatest hits or a demo disc classic, but it is a Darius PlayStation classic, and that is Samurai Showdown 3 for the PlayStation. Now, this game has everything you want from Samurai Showdown. If you're familiar with the series, this was like the 2D fighting version of Soul Calibur, right? It's more King of Fighters than Tekken, but all the characters have something different about them. Of course, you got your traditional samurai styles like Genryu and Homaru. You have, the swordsman who is almost like Doc Holliday. He's over here dealing with some sort of illness, but he's fighting like Yukio. Or, you got Galfer, who's got the dog, or you have Nakaru, who has the hawk. Like, there's all these different people. And, Samurai Showdown's always been interesting because there's always been like this, it's always recognized as being good, but it never achieved, anywhere near the Street Fighter or even King of Fighters success. But anybody who's aware of Samurai Showdown never is like, oh yeah, that game's bad. No, like, everybody likes it, but it just never quite moved the units, never quite had the following. And I know the last one that got released was pretty well received, and I'm very happy about that as a fan of Samurai Showdown. But this is the one I played the most of, right? And the really cool thing is has the, you have your standard slash characters, or you have the bus characters, which have some sort of difference about their moves, the way they fight. For example, Gafford does not have Poppy with him, which is the name of his dog, if you pick the bus version, but he has different types of moves, more projectile based things that he does, because he's a ninja. I always generally like to go with the slash versions because I was particular to the original versions of these characters. But you got your power move or your super move. You can charge it up to get your meter. The one thing with Samurai Showdown, if you're not aware, is that like getting hit by basic attacks can do a lot of damage, especially if you're using the fierce or the slash button. So it doesn't take too many hits to kill people on this game, but the attacks are always cool. They're very colorful. There's a certain level of skill that's required, but if you are familiar with most 2D fighting games, especially the SNK ones, you will be in a good position as far as figuring out how to fight and what to do. The other cool thing is, like, you could always like knock weapons off. There's a couple different ways you can do that. You can either get into like this kind of clash of swords and you have to tap the button faster, or if you do your super move, like your power move, it'll knock the person's weapon off, and they become very limited when not having a weapon. They can't block slashes correctly. They take a lot more damage and just at a very disadvantageous position. I don't even know if that's a real word, but I tried to say it. But so you got to have some strategy about when you do attacks, what you leave yourself open for, because the tide can turn in literally one strike, and not so much like Bushido Blade where you get your head chopped off for one hit, but you can chop heads off in this game if you land a certain attack when a person is near death. So there's like this finishing move aspect to Samurai Showdown that I always thought was really cool in comparison to a lot of the other SNK games. And also, this was one of the fighting games where I noticed a lot of my friends and family wouldn't play. Like, normally if it's a fighting game, there's always somebody who's willing to get some rounds in, but this is the one where they started kind of looking at me like, nah, not gonna be able to do it. And I understood why they were feeling that way, because I used to play this game a lot, and I was not here for the discovery of moves and all that stuff. You do that on your own time. If I'm playing against you, I'm out for blood. I was coming forward. So this was like, all right, I'm at a spot where they're not going to want to play these games with me. And that's understandable. We're just here for fun. And the competition thing wasn't as serious as it had been in previous years. So, I get it. But I always really enjoyed this game. The characters, the colors, the moves, just the presentation. This is why I had a PlayStation, is to be able to play these games versus the 64 that unfortunately did not have as many titles similar to this. They did have a Samurai Showdown game on the 64, but I would not recommend it. It just was not, 64 was not made for that type of thing that they were trying to do. But this game, this is where it's at. Like, this was the game that I played, you know, especially solo because nobody wanted to play it, but I beat the game with pretty much every character, wanted to know all of their moves, their different variations. I don't know all that stuff anymore, but there was a time where I considered myself, you know, pretty knowledgeable about the Samurai Showdown universe, and it was all thanks to this game. You know, there's a lot of things to kind of discover. There's so many different moves with each person, and you can do things that'll turn the tide of battle really, really fast if you kind of know your characters and know what to do. And it's just, you know, it's Samurai Showdown, man. It's just another version of what we all, you know, enjoyed and expected from this series, which is a lot of hard hits, a lot of cool moves, and a lot of feelings getting hurt when they fellas getting chopped in half in the air from a super move. So I've really enjoyed this game, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, favorite characters, favorite moves. You know, if you had a rivalry with someone, I'd always like to hear those things. Those are great stories. But I appreciate you taking time to reminisce with me. Y'all have fun. Y'all be safe. Peace.